Hey, hey everyone, it's Ryan from the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here, back for another live Thursday night show here, and I am just so excited for these two guests to be kind of coming on. So give me 1 second here. All right, awesome. Sorry, I had something else going on in the background here. Tonight we have two people very familiar to anybody that watches this show. We're going to be bringing them on here in a quick second, but wanted to give a shout out to all of the show sponsors that remotely make this show possible. We have BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars, we have Kristoff Cigars, Sagrado Cigars, BAMF Cigars, like I said, Micallef Cigars, Big Sky, Cornell and Diehl Pipe Tobacco, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Thank you so much, Steve. We've got West Tampa Tobacco as well, and also Steve Saka over at. Sorry, they're talking here in the background. It's throwing me off, but no worries. I didn't mute them. I didn't mute them. That's my fault. No worries. I just wasn't expecting them. All right, so new things, right? We've got some new animations on the show here tonight, everybody, and we've got some fun stuff. We've got some new stuff coming up on the show tonight. Some fun little animations that we're working in here as I'm starting to learn OBS and really getting all of these little kinks and everything worked out here. So, to everybody watching tonight, thank you so much. And again, sorry for getting thrown off. I've never had anybody in the background that I could actually hear and they could actually talk. So this is kind of new for me. Let me know if the animations or the switches or changes become too much. I don't think it is. I did keep it fairly minimal, but I do kind of like the way this outline is. Just trying to schmooze it up a little bit, right? Us cigar guys could put a little bit more style and pizzazz, or at least this cigar guy can. So thank you to all the sponsors that make this show possible, and I am done talking because nobody's really here to see me. They're only really here to see the guests that come on the show. How you doing, Kevin and Kerr?
Asians with big boobs. That's my kink. Kerr, you're up next. He said we'd be talking about kinks tonight. So, Kerr,
I said kinks.
You're up.
I said kinks. When did I say kinks?
You said we'd be working on the kinks tonight.
Working out the kinks.
Oh, well, we can.
We're working them out too.
Yeah, we were working them out too. I don't know. I don't know.
Working out the kinks.
I'm a fan of ball gags and anime.
Yeah. So yeah, we got that going for us. Good topic for
there we go.
Lead off the night with.
Well, I tell you, I wanted this show. Kevin. I just gotta say, Kevin and Kara are always so kind to jump on a show. Really at the last minute. And tonight we were supposed to have Jeremy from Wildfire on, and something had come up and he wasn't able to be on. So my go-to is old reliable over here, Kevin. Always could rely on Kevin to jump on the show, have a great time, and care as well. So
my chopped liver?
No, I'm getting there. I'm individually getting there.
I'm old.
Dude, that's a slow fucking trip you were taking.
Yeah, that's it. You're new reliable. I'm old.
Kevin.
Care's new reliable.
Yeah.
Kevin's just old. But no, seriously, thank you guys so much for coming on. Always appreciate it. And let's kind of talk a little bit about, if we could, we haven't talked a whole lot about your brand, Kerr. How has your brand been going? What have you guys been doing? What have you guys been up to? Anything new on the market, or you guys going to be bringing anything to PCA? What's that look like?
I'm bringing myself to PCA along with Kevin. So we're going to be doing our thing for the show. No, I mean, it's been a slow year. It's just been this year has just been, it seems like after COVID, every year after COVID, it's like, whew, at least it's not 2020. And then you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Things could get weirder. So, it's been a pretty steady year. we kind of had to take a step back a little bit and focus more on family stuff and family. But I still am in a lot of the shops here locally. I kind of did peel back from um, trying to go outside of the local market. I like to be in the one thing I learned when we grew fast is, it's great to be in 15 states and blah 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 blah, but they want to see you, and when it's something that is not doable, you can become very unmemorable on a humidor shelf. So I still maintain keeping a pretty steady local support and a good local brand, and we're pretty happy with that.
Now you all stay pretty much in that eastern region, though, right? For the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a shop out west, and well, there's a story to that one, but I won't get into it. But we were at a shop out on the West Coast. We were in a couple, shops in the Gulf, but you know, we're still in a shop or two in Pennsylvania. We're still in, but we're pretty strong here in South Carolina and a couple in North Carolina.
And that works. That works for you because you're growing at your pace. You said you had some
Yeah.
family stuff, so you're not burning the midnight oil every
No.
weekend either.
And you know what? I can't. I mean, and Kevin can attest to this. Kevin's actually a lot smarter at this because when he's with his brand, in his cigars, he's coming out with these specific batches and moving forward with them. But when you're a small boutique, you just can't be like, hey, guess what's new? Well, what's new is the cigars I've been trying to get you to put on your shelf now for the last 3 fucking years, or 5 years rather. So, all of our brands, all 4 of them behind me, they're all still new. The newest thing we did was a deconstructed, barber pole. But other than that, it's just seeing which Vitolas work. I mean, we did a Robusto. It was a 5x56. It went over well in some shops. I mean, but it's really just Vitolas and just really pushing the current brand that we have right now. So it sounded like there was some bongos going on in the background there. I don't know what that was.
No, I kind of rushed in here like a bull out of China shop for some reason and didn't open my door to vent stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure everything worked on this setup here. Kevin's gonna give me grief because I'm always futzing around. I've always got to be fiddling. Last time I think I opened and played in my humidor when I was on the show.
That's it. We got Cigar Clowns on the bottom. That's fitting for what's going on right now. Bunch of goddamn clowns here.
Yeah.
I tell you what, let's go ahead and jump into the only segment of the night here, sponsored by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Thank you so much, Steve Saka and Steve and Cindy Saka, for believing in the show here. So
it's all about me.
Here's how the rest of the show is going to go.
Well, Kerr just brought up he's got the deconstructed barber pole, so that's what I'm smoking tonight. That's the VSR Cigar Fam deconstructed barber pole. So it's not a barber pole. You actually take both. I'll let Kerr explain it, but yeah, I'm smoking one of each. I'm starting with the Candela that is on the barber pole, and then I'm going to move to the darker one, which I'm not.
Russian San Andreas.
The San Andreas.
Sandela, it's in the name, but yes.
Oh yeah. There we go. Sandela.
Okay.
yeah. What about you, Kerr?
I'm actually because I did see Steve's recent post about his Lancero collection and his smoking the Candela Lancero. So I was like, "Have I been talking about?" But I'm smoking the Sweetgrass Gringo, and this is our Lancero. It's really more of a double Corona, the size of it. So this is the one and only Connecticut and Candela barber pole.
Myself, I am smoking again, in likeness of Kerr, doing the Steve Saka reference here, I am smoking the Don Derma. Now, this is the Golden Child, which is the second iteration of the Don Derma. It's a little bit more powerful, a little bit more on the punchier side. I actually like it a little bit more than the regular Don Derma, personally. Have either of you guys had both Don Dermas and the Golden Childs?
No.
I only smoke what they send me to smoke for free.
Since I'm way downstream from that statement, you can only imagine what the fuck I'm smoking.
Yeah.
Kevin sent me some backwoods the other day, but no, I've never had them.
Well, thank you so much, Steve Saka, for sponsoring the What Are You Smoking Tonight segment. I am moving through these. I'm actually feeling a little nervous to have you guys on. I have no idea why.
Should be.
You should.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm fucking around and playing with everything in the background, but I'll leave it here on this screen at request of Kevin, because he doesn't like my guest only little screenshot where it puts you guys big and center. So we'll leave it like this for you, Kev. But
that
anyways,
odd. That looked a little odd.
I liked it. See, this is the fun of it. I liked it. But it just kind of shrieks me a little bit.
Yeah. Oh. What about that one?
So how has the show been going? Kevin, let's check in with you a little bit around Cigar Panda as well.
Well, it's called Trash Panda.
I'm sorry.
That's why I've told you for years you should have notes, but you refuse to listen to me, as always.
I cannot believe I said. I literally have your trash can on my desk.
Yeah.
I cannot believe I said Cigar Panda. That sounds really bad anyway.
Cigar Panda in a trash can.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My mistake.
So we're doing good. We're like Kerr. We had, it was a little bit of a slow year, but started off strong, but we're kind of pivoting on what we do. I mean, we finally got rid of the remainder of all of our vintage cigars and everything else. And we're really just focusing. We're moving into 2025. We're refocusing, and we're going to have our one core cigar, which is our real good trash. Going forward, that's always going to be a core cigar where we have. And then I think we're probably going to do like 2 special releases a year. Like we've got one that we're working on now. It'll be released in February. And then if that sells out quickly, I'll, be able to, maybe towards the second half of the year, August, September, do something, another like special release. And those will be like one and done. Depending on how big over the one we got in February goes. I'd kind of like to keep that one, but yeah, that's us, for the Trash Panda side. Cigar Prop just does what it does. We stay busy doing the accessories.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because you actually, and I was interested to see it posted I didn't think it was coming out yet. But I saw somebody posting your Saka Squatch cigar stand.
So those were for Smoke In. So we did a run for Smoke In for their Summer of Saka. So those are about a 10-inch tall king squatch. It has the crown, has the logos, Dunbarton, Smoke In. Those were just for Smoke In. Those won't be available anywhere else. We are doing a version for Cigar Prop. So you'll be able to get those on the Cigar Prop website. They're going to look a little different. The sizes will be the same. They'll still be a Sasquatch, but they're not going to be branded. Obviously, I can't use the Dunbarton logo, but yeah, so we'll be doing those as well. And then those will have 2 sizes, like a mega 10-inch and then a smaller, like a 6-inch. So, and then any color you want, pink, blue, white, red, whatever color you want.
I see what I need to do, because you've seriously, Kevin, I need to have more businesses, because that allows more. You get more airtime, because it's gonna be like, Kevin, how's cigar prop track?
Yeah.
And then it's,
Yeah.
how's cigar prop? And it's gonna be like, hey, how's that looming business? So you're gonna be on for the next hour talking about all the different. I need to start expanding my horizons. I got to start getting into other things.
Yes.
Kevin, the one thing I've known about Kevin is Kevin's never happy with completing anything. Because Kevin's first thing after completing something is finding something else to complete. So like
no, you're wrong,
dude. I feel like you always have a job going.
Halfway through completing a project, I start on a new project because I'm never happy. So halfway through a project,
final.
Yeah, I'm always working on the next project. So.
How do you even like come up with the idea of making a soccer squatch and seeing if it'll even play into it? Like that's a lot of design and development on your part, or do you have these to download?
So on that, and there are certain things that are just, you know, like my cedar tray spacers. I needed one. You know, and I'm like, and Jessica had been harping on me for like a year to make something. And I'm like, all right, let me work on that one. That one I needed. So I got that and people seem to dig that. But I was actually on my Bamboo Labs. That's the printer I have. There's a Facebook group and someone had posted, he made one and it was a gorilla holding out its hands. And it was a to hold a pen for a pen display. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I reached out to him like, hey, can you design a Sasquatch, you know, that, you know, with its a bit wider hands to hold the cigar? And he goes, yeah, I can do that. So, you know, and then he designed that. And then I sent it over to Abe and I go, hey, look what I got, you know? And he's like, damn it, I'll take them. So he bought some for the Summer Osaka. But yeah, sometimes it's just seeing something and then like, hey, what if I change this and I could make it do this, you know? And that's how some of the things come out. It's just you know, but it's always being on the lookout of how to make money next, you know? So it's always that's always the thing.
He's a built-in hustler. So I can't. How much stuff do you just get randomly sent to your house that he's 3D printed? Because I got to imagine several things just randomly show up that are ideas.
I don't think randomly. You know, Kevin and I chat a lot, so he'll be like, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna send you something. Tell me what you think." So I'm always prepared. I don't think I think the one thing you randomly sent me was the street signs. That was the one thing that was random.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff, it's sending it, you know, and asking my feedback and opinion on it. Which one looks well? How does it function? But you know. I really nothing random. I wish I had a better story for you.
Yeah. I know Carol give me his honest opinion, you know, just like I give him honest opinion on cigars. And, you know, yeah, he's just a good feedback, you know, be able to come back and forth on. And like, I just sent him a cup, you know, with a logo on it. And I'm like, hey, put this through its paces, you know, let me know how it.
And I've been using it it's a great scotch.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're outside and you got some ice in there, it's a great scotch, whiskey, perfect for it. Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's you know, when usually whenever I'm doing something new, like I said, he'll get the first to try out and see what he thinks of it.
Where do you guys are both in the media space. You guys are both in the cigar world. Which is more fun for you? I've always wanted to ask you that question. Is the cigars, is this media more fun, or both have their certain places? If you had to choose one or the other.
I don't think you can you? You know?
No, I just know that and each kind of has their benefits. Each has their own headaches, you know? But I don't know. For me, I always look at it, and I've always looked at it this way, even years ago with doing my show, is I never looked at myself and said, okay, I'm in this, I'm in that. You got to have a passion for it. So I think when you have a passion for it, you really don't kind of pigeonhole yourself, or you don't want to put yourself in these blocks or these classifications. You're kind of like, listen, here's the cigar industry. I'm passionate about the cigar industry, and whatever I'm doing in the cigar industry, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And that's why when I joined Kevin on his show, it's because he does a great job. I mean, he's fantastic, and we got great chemistry. But more importantly, all the work that he does for every single episode, it's 1,000%. So for me, I don't really look at myself as being in a specific area in cigars. I just look at it as I have a passion for it, so I just do whatever I'm able to do.
Yeah, I agree, and I found myself being pigeonholed a little bit into the media side, and sometimes it's hard to promote my own brand. That's why, at the beginning of next year, we're scaling back quite a bit. We're still going to do the same stuff. If you see me on Instagram, I'm still going to do Instagram, still going to do all that. But I don't want to be as beholden to as many people as I am. And, and that's all on me. It's not like these manufacturers are telling me you have to smoke my cigar all the time and post pictures. But when you're paying me to do something, I definitely want to give it my 1,000%. I want you to feel like you're getting your money's worth, and and that's why we do command the what we do is, and when it comes to reimbursement, but yeah, it's you do get pigeonholed a little bit. People think of you sometimes as it, not so much now, but a couple years ago, you get pigeonholed to one brand. People, oh, he's the so-and-so guy. He's the so-and-so guy. And there are still guys out there like that. And it's just like, I'm glad we were able to move away from that, and not be considered a person representing just one company. So, but yeah, it's tough. Both of them are tough. Social media is tough. Being in the media is tough. It's a lot of work.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I was really hoping that question was going to lead you into the answer you gave, because I know you haven't talked a whole lot about next year and everything, but what are the changes that you're going to see to the show? What are the things that you're looking to do differently?
Well, one, we're going to scale back the show. Instead of a weekly show, I'd like to do a monthly show, a once a month show, but we're not going to have any sponsors, any advertisers. It's just going to be me and Kerr talking to someone in the industry. Kerr and I are starting our own podcast. Luckily, when I came to Kerr with this idea and told him how I was feeling, he was 100% on board, and asked him to join me to doing something else. And because I wouldn't have done it by myself. I wouldn't have done it without Kerr. He definitely my right hand guy. So, but yeah, so we're going to be starting our own podcast. It's the Puff and Ponder podcast, where conversations ignite. And it's just going to be me and Kerr just shooting the shit, talking about whatever we want. If I know there's a couple people in the industry that has reached out and like, hey, I'd love to come on and just talk with you guys. Not about their brand, not about cigars, just talk about what's going on in our daily lives. If there's something going on in the world, we can talk about that. And hopefully it just reinvigorates, my passion a little bit for, because it's a lot doing a weekly show. I mean, it's like, I would say 14 to 18 hours a week, of prep before the show, after the show, doing like, all the little sound bites and clips and everything. And it's a lot. It's a lot of work. And then luckily Kerr is just like on the new show. I don't know. Kerr and I we just hit it. We just start talking.
Yeah. I can tell you, it's the work that Kevin does on the current show. I mean, I know, and Ryan, from hosting your show, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's people don't realize that. And then when I met, when Kevin and I started chatting, and then when I started doing a show with Kevin, I was like, holy dude, you do a hell of a lot more than I was doing. I mean, I was blown away. I thought I was doing a lot, and it was exhausting But Kevin, the research that he does, the notes that he puts together, how organized it is, the structure of advertisements, everything needs to, to be in its place. And so we bust his balls a little bit, and I know Jessica rides him a little bit, but I mean, you can kind of sit back and poke fun a little bit, but at the end of the day, that's why the show's so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why it runs the way it does. That's why it's so successful. If it was just done half-assed or hodgepodge, it would come through in the lack of quality. The reason why there is so much quality is because of that work. So when Kevin talked to me about doing Puff and Ponder and scaling it back, yeah, of course I'm going to support him. He's my man, and it's like, and I know how much work he puts into it, and I can imagine how draining it is.
It's a lot of work. It's like, and I'll be honest, as everybody saw the way the show started today, Kevin puts in more work than I do, as far as notes are concerned, and everything when it comes to preparation for. I don't know too many people that prepare as much as Kevin. When he says he puts that much work into it, I've seen his notes that he gives. I mean, it's really well laid out for a show. So this new show isn't going to be that laid out to that extent. It's going to be much more of just you two shooting the shit with it, moving forward, and kind of seeing where that goes. So is there off limit, right?
Well,
Yeah,
Ron,
yeah,
Kevin's
yeah.
involved with it. You realize this is going to start off as kind of casual, and it will eventually
No,
evolve.
that's what I was going to get into.
There will be some structure that will eventually seep in.
That's what I was going to say. How is that going to be possible for you, Kevin? Because you are very structured.
I am, but we've done a couple of shows so far, and we've had zero notes, zero.
Was that
I don't see
comfortable
notes
for you?
It would be uncomfortable for me with anybody else besides Kerr. Kerr can just I don't know what it is. Like, we just turn the camera on, and I mean, even when we chat offline, like video chat, it's like we could have recorded some of our video chats that last an hour, and they'll be, they'd be good shows. But he just he's got the ability to just start talking, and then it just and it just goes. I don't know. It works out good. Yeah, with anybody else, I don't think I would do it.
Those awkward silences that could be really a fucking conversation killer, right? But
yeah,
we don't have those when we have our conversations, when we talk. And there's been times where we've been chatting, on video, and then all of a sudden it'll get to the end, we'll be talking, and it'll be like, when there is a little bit more silence, we're like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, have a good one, man.
Yeah.
See you. Click.
Yeah, yes.
It's like, there is no, hugs goodbye, or hey, have a great night. I hope you and the family. It's like, okay,
gotta go.
Gotta go. See you. Bye.
So are both of you guys then looking forward to this kind of new area of format that's going to be a little bit more relaxed, a little less industry related, a little bit more maybe current events topics? And I know you guys definitely had a big show after the hurricane, where you guys talked about how you were affected in the Carolinas there, Kerr.
When it was dark, I was doing it from my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you who's excited. Jessica's excited.
Because she'll have more time with you.
Yeah, because, because Sunday nights, and it used to be Saturday nights, but I moved it to Sundays so we can spend, a little Saturday. But from Sunday night, starting at like 3:00 in the afternoon, that's it. I'm in my office from 3 till usually 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and it's just show notes. It's all, and then if I'm off, usually I'm off on Mondays, but yeah, then starting Mondays at 3:00, 4:00, it's all about the show, going over my notes again, getting my computer set up, getting my camera set up, so it's getting all that. And then Tuesday, when I get home from work, it's all about downloading the show, creating the Opus clips, 2 or 3 hours on that, and then it's an hour each night during the week, if I have multiple clips, of posting those on other social media platforms. So as you can see, 1 2-hour show quickly becomes 15 hours, really fast, so, and that takes away from me hanging out with Jessica. It takes away from me from promoting my own businesses and getting other stuff done. So,
and how has the attention been for the last couple shows that you guys did, as far as audience base and feedback that you're getting? Are you guys getting solid feedback for that, or
for the new show?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's seen it.
No,
I thought you guys did. The Puff and
we
Ponder.
got some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
we got some feedback,
but I don't care. I don't care if anybody. I don't care if anybody watches it. Just me and my friend hanging out and talking. If nobody watches it, I don't care. I don't have any advertisers. I don't have any sponsors.
The show's
nobody
for us.
It's for us. Just to talk. And I think eventually people will find it. People will like it. And if they don't, I don't care.
Yeah, the show's for us and for anybody who wants to join us and have a good conversation and talk about, family life, movies, whatever. I mean, Kevin and I, we may end up doing a live show for election night. We may have a map behind us and call out the winners of the map of the presidential race. But I think that would last about 5 minutes. Then we would start talking about Chucky and the Bride of Chucky and everything else.
Yeah.
Let that shit fall where it may.
Well, I tell you, the election night's going to be a spicy night. That's for sure. So you guys, you if you did a live coverage on election night, you guys should run like a.
We should, Kevin. That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
Simul but you're talking like, in order for that to be viable, you guys would have to start your show at like 10 o'clock at night, because polls close at 7 or 8 your time for East Coast, and then you'd at least want to get 2 time zones into the show.
And they start so early, those shows, and it's like it is like a fucking tape loop. It's like, what we need to do here is look at this county.
Oh, yeah.
And this county here. And if you look at this neighborhood last time went for the Democrats. But if they can turn these 3 houses and go.
They've already started that one town in Wisconsin. If you win this one town, this subdivision, you win the whole presidency.
They're dropping
everything.
leaflets. They're dropping
everything.
Leaflets with
I don't even know
Starbucks
why
cards in them.
I don't even know why anybody's voting. Just this one street. One street right here.
Yeah, I could see Kevin and I doing that. That would be really funny, though. Like I said, I think we'd get about 10 minutes into it and be like, yeah, this is boring. You know what? Hey, have you seen the new Halloween? It is Halloween. Did you see that? What'd you think of it? It's.
Well, Halloween is definitely something I wanted to bring up tonight. It's my daughter's first year of Halloween at 3.5, almost 3.5, where she's gonna most likely remember this Halloween.
And I was gonna say, hadn't she had 3 already?
Yeah, but like, no, we locked her up in the room for Halloween.
First Halloween at 3.
Yeah. So she's dressing up as Ghost Spider. She's all about Spider-Man. So she runs around the house dressed up like Ghost Spider, doing web ups. So my wife and I both act like this, like she webs us up or something like that. And so we're doing like the towns by us do what's called like a trunk or treat, which is like a family safe town trick or treat. Long gone are the days of get the hell out of the house and you come home with a sack full of candy.
Trunk or treat is a lazy man's way of celebrating Halloween.
It's the whole business section of my local town, and all the businesses give away candy. It's not
you want to walk around and burn off that calorie? No, everybody hop in the car. We're going to drive over. Then you're going to walk 10 feet to the next trunk.
Actually,
if you don't bite into one razor blade, are you even doing it right? Are you even doing trick or treating right?
If you don't open up that bag and you see one pencil, right?
Yeah, I know. If you don't get that little sack full of pennies with the little potpourri sack of pennies,
you gotta live the experience of pouring out your bag and being like, "Give me a pencil." What
Yeah.
erasers? A pack of erasers? What the shit?
Yeah.
Raisins?
Who
What?
threw it? Who? Yeah,
Eraser.
who's raisins? Yeah, who threw it? Who gives a box of raisins? You know, a little
Yeah.
small box of raisins. So yeah, you have to experience that.
Well, tell us just through some of your fun stories. What some of your favorite stories as a kid growing up with Halloween? I know for me it was just going around causing havoc. I was a little bit of a ruffian. I know I don't look like it, right? I was a little bit of a ruffian as a kid, and that was always kind of fun for me. Is going not like we stole candy or anything, but shaving cream, eggs, TP, stuff that you probably get thrown in jail for today. But tell us about some of your favorite stories from Halloween as a kid or with your own kids. Kerr, we'll start with you.
God. For me, it was like I remember it was the '70s, so I am old, and it's usually cold out, so we're all bundled up,
How
and
old
then
are
you got
you?
a 54.
No, I'm
So
saying in the 70s at the store.
54.
Okay.
54 minus 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You asked me how old I am, not how old I was.
I said
So
okay.
I expected Kevin to start pulling out that whole grammar, but like 6, 7, 8. So like it was always the bundled up. Then you had to put those old school in a box, right? The plastic freaking, it's flame retardant, but it will melt to your body type freaking, Halloween costumes, and then those masks that basically you would breathe and the condensation would build up and then freeze. So it was like, you're walking around with this mask on and it's freaking a cross between being humid, frozen, and freaking you can't breathe. And I mean, the memories literally are just going through the neighborhood and just doing it, just spending the entire night. Because back then it felt like it lasted forever.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you didn't see anybody walking around during the daylight. It was like if you're
Mhm.
walking around during the daylight dressed up like that, they're probably gonna freaking pick you up and send you somewhere and spend about 7 to 14 days. So it always happened like right at night. And then what was really cool was in my neighborhood, um, everyone would always, especially the summertime, but in Halloween, everyone would congregate back at our front porch because we lived in this on the corner. We had this real big freaking front porch, big cement front porch. So my friends, we'd always meet there. Mrs. Apple, my guys I grew up with, their mom would be down there, and my mom and her would be smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, and we'd be eating candy. So that was always the best memory for me is congregating on that porch, and just seeing what we got.
And now, how big of a haul did you get back in those days? Back in
It was
those
a
days,
big
please
haul,
don't
but you
take that
got
at that.
but you got a bunch of stupid shit back then. I mean, you got a lot of homemade stuff too. Like now, I
You
guarantee
won't
you,
get that.
if your kids went through the neighborhood, and they freaking got their shit, and they looked in there, they'd be like, "Fucking hey, this is wrapped in Saran wrap. Get rid of that shit." Back then, it was like, "Where'd you get that?" I can't remember. And it was like, and it was always like my dad would be like, "Oh, it's good," and then he'd freaking hand it back to us. So as long as he didn't, bite into a razor blade or die of poison immediately, it was always good. So there's always homemade stuff in there, and there was no allergy issues like that. There was nothing healthy at all in that. For every once in a while, someone would throw in, like you said, a small box of raisins or something, but um, it was, and this was even before even a small candy bars now, right? So everyone has these little minis, man. Everything was a full size candy bar. So that's why the halls seemed so big. It was freaking heavy as shit
Yeah.
because you weren't walking around with like a bunch of miniature freaking 1,000 grands or a whole bunch of freaking. I didn't know I'd need to use this prop tonight, or Three Musketeer bars. I mean, everything was a full candy bar. So you were dragging a freaking bag home, and trying not to put a hole in your bag.
That's That's so, I never even thought of, it's weird when somebody says something, you're like, well, yeah, I guess the tiny fun size candy wasn't invented yet, in
Yeah.
the sense of like, that's probably didn't come into play until like the 90s.
No, if
The
anybody,
little
if
fun
anybody put
size.
anything small in there, you'd be like,
Kerr's
"You
like,
cheap bastard."
woohoo! I got 2 bits. You know, someone
No,
gave me
that's
a wooden nickel.
Yep, I got a wooden nickel.
And
Hey,
that's
old
look,
man Johnson.
hey, look, Ma, I got some coal. Put it in the furnace.
Yeah.
that's awesome that everything was full size. I guess
Yeah,
I just didn't even think about that, but candy was a lot cheaper back then, though.
it was all
Um,
Yeah,
relative, but
it's
Relative
all,
to
you definitely
amount.
got, like I said, it was you definitely got freaking a haul. It was
Now,
heavy shit.
were you a hellion at all as you got older?
Well,
Where if somebody didn't give you
no,
something you
I didn't
liked,
do
you and
no,
your
no, no, no. I mean, it was like I was a, you know, we did enough damage freaking the other 360 some days out of the year. I didn't, what? Why freaking focus on Halloween night when the cops are out and everyone's looking for it, right? Why
Yeah.
not do it on a Wednesday in the middle of February? That's a better time. But no, I mean, my sister was like my brother, God rest his soul. He did a lot of parties with his friend, but my sister, if she didn't like someone in the neighborhood, they got it. It was, egging was big back then, but they'd always look for and I remember her telling me this too. They'd always look for this one neighbor because they always had a fan in the window, and they'd always throw the eggs into the fan so it would go into the house.
Oh.
So yeah, yeah, my sister was definitely I learned a lot of bad stuff from her. But yeah, they were her group of friends. If you were a jerk, and we had it was a small neighborhood. I mean, everybody knew everybody. But if you were a dick or a jerk or something like that, boy oh boy, you paid for it on that night. Her and her day, she made certain of it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. But see, cops were also different back then. Things were taken as jokes primarily back
Yeah,
then
yeah.
for the
They take
vast
you back to your
majority of the time.
parents.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
even like my buddy, I have friends that are in their 60s and 70s that'll be like, oh yeah, I remember drinking and getting caught and the cop just followed you home.
Yeah.
Like it was just, things were just done differently.
I'm not that old.
No, that's why I said 60s, 70s, and
Yeah,
they were just like, you
yeah.
get caught, and it was just, oh, let me follow you home, or I'm driving at the age of 13.
Like my
Like
sisters and my brother, my sister's what? So she's about 6 years older than I am, and it happened too with me a couple times. But when they would get caught drinking, underage drinking, the cops would just take their alcohol and just leave.
Yeah.
That's all they did. Bunch of underagers, grab the booze, let's take it. All right, get home. Goodbye.
Yeah.
They freaking went home and
That's-
stocked their refrigerator.
and see, that's
Oh,
how
my
it
God.
should be. That's really how it should be. They shouldn't be getting underage tickets for. In the college town I was in by Illinois State University, the first offense was $250, second offense was $350, third offense was up to 90 days and $1,000.
But it's a different crowd now, though. See, back
Yeah.
then, you were afraid of cops. Back then, if you did something and an adult came out and yelled, you ran. Now the kids want to pull out their phone. They want to freaking sit there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
run their mouths, call you names, and try and
That's
provoke
fair.
you to do something. Back then, you scattered when you were in trouble, or you were yes sir, no sir to the police, and then you were on your merry way. Now everyone's a jackass. Everyone
That's
wants
it.
to have their own
It-
reality television show.
If you were in a group of friends and an adult yoked up one of your friends, you split. Everybody else
Yeah.
left that dude on his own. Now everybody, like you said, would be pulling out their phones and videotaping this adult.
Hey,
beating
don't
the
touch
crap
him. We're
out-
going to sue you.
That's it. Yeah. Back then, it's like, peace, Carrie.
Yeah, back then, you know what the issue was back then too, or the thing was back then, if you got in trouble or something like that, even if it's a neighbor, because it's happened to us a few times, when you got home and your parents found out, you got it twice as bad at home. It wasn't your
Yeah.
freaking parents coming out and doing the whole "don't talk to my kid like that. You don't
Yeah.
understand. They're different." Blah, blah. No, it was like he did what? All right, get home.
You know what it's like? And honestly, it to an extent I understood this. It reminded me of the scene for Christmas Story, where they're on the phone. He said, "What?"
Yeah.
You just hear the
Yeah.
smacking going in the background. You know
What I do, Ma? What I
you know,
That's a
every
great
kid
scene.
I knew growing up, their mother had a wooden spatula that they would
Yeah.
use. And it was always the spatula because typically they were usually always in the kitchen making something. It was just the thing that was there to swing on. So Kev, what about you? What's some of your favorite? I know you're really into Halloween, both you and Jessica. I'm pretty sure Jessica is, but I know you are.
No, Jessica more than me. By
Okay.
far.
What's one of your favorite Halloween memories, either as a kid, a teenager, or as an adult, that you think about every year, or when you have a good
So,
memory?
um, so the yeah, I knew this would eventually come up on a show somewhere. Jessica makes fun of me for it. Um, I don't have any memories of being a kid for the most part. Like anything prior to like 13, 12 years old, maybe I have like zero memories of it. I from what few memories I had a great childhood. So she's like, what happened to you? Was there trauma? No, there was no trauma. I just every time I learn something new, I have to file away some old stuff. You know, like I got to put it away and it's in a corner of my brain that I'm not able to access readily. So I don't have memories of being a kid. Almost none. Like so it's kind of weird. It's so yeah, it's
My sister's like that. She can't remember
yeah.
shit like before 12.
Yeah. So there's a great
Huh.
scene which I never could explain it to anybody until I saw the movie, the Stephen King movie
Yeah, I was gonna
Dreamcatcher.
say. Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know that was I saw that and I go, oh my god, that's my
that's me.
brain.
Yeah.
That's him with all
Yep.
these files, and sometimes he's got to throw files away, you know, and get rid of them, even though he doesn't want to. But every now and then he saves that one song, you know, he puts it in a file like the special. This one's I gotta keep, and that's my brain, you know. So but yeah, it's yeah, I remember taking my kids trick or treating when they were little, and we still did in the neighborhood. You know, we went house to house, you know, block to block, and then eventually, you know, you heard of like, hey, this street always gives away like really good candy. So then we started traveling, you know, not across town, but maybe you know a couple blocks over the neighborhood over, and you know you'd go trick or treating in that neighborhood. Um, but um, but yeah, it's just normal stuff. Going trick or treating, coming home, digging out all the Reese pieces because those are mine.
Nice.
Reese cups, you know, they don't. It's called a dad tax for a reason. So it still happens to this day. Gabby in her on her desk in her room keeps a jar full of various candies, and every now and then I'll walk in, I'll look at it, open up the jar, reach in, I go dad tax, and I'll take a piece and just walk out of her room.
That's funny.
What's some of the most favorite costumes that you guys have dressed up as over the years? I'll start. I dressed up as Larry the Cable Guy for 4 years in a row, or 3 years in a row, because it only required me at the time, believe it or not, at the time I had a big full goatee and I kind of resembled Larry the Cable Guy. It required me to get a shirt, cut the sleeves off, and that was pretty much it. So I don't like dressing up, so it's never really been my thing. But Kevin, what's some of your most favorite Halloween costumes you've dressed up as over the years?
I don't dress up and go out. I dress up and take stupid videos inside the house, you know. So when it comes time for Halloween, I'm like, I've already done that, you know. So yeah, I don't.
That's hilarious.
I'm not a. Even though I have costumes, you know,
I
they're
know
for
that's what I was
so
expecting you to be like the
they're for
Riddler.
social media. Damn it, they're not for people that aren't. If you're not paying me, you don't get to see me in a costume.
That is funny. Those aren't for Halloween. That's for a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's for a Wednesday.
What about you, Kerr? Any family
Oh,
costumes with the kids to match?
No, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. That's terrible. I think, I got like tons of memories. Like Kevin, up until I'm 12 or 14, and for some reason, like the memories. Like I said, anything I dressed up as like an adult, because usually it's Halloween, you're drinking. I probably forgot, but I really can't think of anything off the top of my head. I remember when we were kids, and my mom, like, it was always the old, like I said, the plastic outfit with the mask. But this one year, my mom bought these outfits, and I have to look them up. But they were new, and I did not want it. I wanted nothing to do with this shit. And she went and got them, and they were these things where you had like your typical plastic outfit, but they had these inflatable freaking like bug heads and little character heads, and you would blew them up, and then you had to freaking put it on your head and then strap it in, and then paint your face. So I had to walk around with this ridiculous thing on my head, like I want to be like Mr. T, or I want to be freaking, Han Solo or Chewbacca. And here I am walking around with this ridiculous freaking inflatable thing on top of my head. And I was embarrassed. I hated it. And it was like, and then you had to take it off when you got, because we would, we would in our neighborhoods. And my mom's like, "Oh, I want to go over to your aunt's house. We're gonna take some pictures." And you got to take this freaking thing off your head. And it was cold out, so you had a stocking cap on, and then this on top of it, and the stocking caps covered your eyes. I remember that outfit well because it was horrible and I hated it and I did not want to be in it, and I was forced. It would be child abuse these days.
See, this would be a good episode for Jessica, because as the kids really don't care about Halloween anymore. But when they were little, I mean, Jessica made all of their outfits every year. She would spend weeks and weeks making every bit of their outfit. Wyatt, when Jessica and I first got together, he was a Ghostbuster for Halloween. She did buy him like just a jumpsuit, but his proton pack she made from scratch, from cardboard and various things. And, that's, she dives into Halloween.
Son of a bitch. Kooky Spooks. It was these things.
I've never seen those.
Those look scary as hell.
And look, these kids don't look fucking happy at all. Look at their faces. They're miserable. Kooky Spooks. Yeah, Jessica's really talented with that, Kevin. And that's, my mom, she didn't make any of our shit, but, I could see Jessica just ripping out Halloween costumes every year.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, the thing that gets me, even as an adult, that I almost just want to swing on sometimes are clowns. Clowns.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said clouds, and I'm like, are you swinging on a cloud? Who's driving a cloud?
Yeah, is that what you said?
I mean, he is in the Rocky Mountains, Kerr.
I was gonna say high as a kite, but
I was gonna say,
but no, clowns for me are the epitome of creepy. Even still today, at 39 years old, clowns just skeeve me out. I don't know what it is. It's one of those things.
Yeah, did you remember a couple of years ago? This probably maybe actually probably it was right maybe before COVID, maybe like the year or two before COVID, where it was all the rage on social media to dress as a clown and like chase people, and sometimes they would like drag
shit. You get your ass killed.
How the hell did no one ever get shot? You come after me like that,
you're dead.
You're getting dealt with, and if you're filming it, show that shit to the cops.
Oh yeah, actually, nobody got shot that I'm aware of, at least what I've seen, but there was a kid on a college campus. I think it was Texas or one of the Carolinas that drew down on a guy that jumped out from underneath like a cross bridge, and you hear the kid screaming, "Joke, joke, joke, joke." And he just pulls his gun, he points it right at him, backs like 10 feet away, puts his gun away and walks away. And like, you're right though. I mean, nowadays it's probably less to get shot than back in the 60s and 70s, but I think you're hard pressed to get shot these days doing that.
I watch these videos of folks that are like like they'll be showing someone in a parking garage, and someone will come dressed up like the nun or something like that and scare people, and I'm like, I would knock them out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you said, Kevin. People, if I walked out back and I seen someone hanging out in my back in the woods dressed like a clown, sure as shit, we're gonna have words.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, Thomas Crenshaw said, yeah, that was Texas State University, where the kid drew down on him. And you just instantly saw the kid drop to his knees and
Yeah.
start to hug the concrete. Like,
Stupid.
here's the thing is I'm a Second Amendment absolutist. There's no gray area for me on that. It's if the government has it, you should too. Period. End of story. And if I'm walking through a parking garage, like Kerr said, and the nun appears in front of me, I'm gonna think it's a joke for about 3 seconds until they don't respond like it's one. And then I'm gonna respond differently because I have my daughter here. And now you're
Yeah.
gonna scare my kid. Like, we've now got problems. And
Oh, yeah.
we're going to be having a discussion. You're going to be getting arrested of some kind. The cops are coming because you're 3 seconds away from getting shot because I have my 3-year-old with me.
Dude, I almost got kicked out of a haunted house several years ago.
Okay, I got to hear this story.
Well, we have this area. We have this. It's really cool. It's called the Denver Downs, and they have like a haunted hayride, and they have these different houses and stuff that you go to, and it's all fun. But we had Joseph with us and Lily, and Lily unfortunately is no longer with us, but she was the LLS, a girl of the year, and Joseph was the LLS boy of the year of the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So when we were going through this one haunted house, this one area, she really got freaked out and got scared. And the person who was coming after her, I said, "Hey, can you back off? She's really not handling it well." And they didn't. They actually kept going at her harder. And she was up against Jennifer, and this person kept coming up. So I just turned around and I hip checked them far away. And then when we went into the next level, the guy popped out and I said, "Listen here." I said, "I have a young girl with me. She's really scared." I said, "The person who did not listen to me before," I said, "ended up on their ass." I said, "You got to let her finish up the end here." I said, "She's really not responding well." He said, "No problem." So he actually led the way and told everyone else to back off. And we were able to finish off. And when I got to the end, the person who got the hip check was standing there with security, and they were sitting there pointing, and I just kind of nodded and waved and just kept right on going. And Jennifer's like, "They're going to kick you out." I was like, "Oh, there's not enough of them." But
We got problems then.
but we were kind of chuckling about it. But I'm all in good favor and all in good fun when it comes to scaring kids. But when it gets to the point where it's really having a really bad effect, and if you tell someone, "Look, can you just back off," and they actually amp it up, it was not going to end well. And it just flipped the switch at that point. And then we got in the Jason bus, camp what was that, what camp is
Crystal
that? Camp
Lake.
Crystal Lake, the Camp Crystal Lake bus, and drove on back while the Jason ran around the middle of the aisle of the bus. And she laughed about that because that was kind of funny and silly. But yeah, I thought for sure I was gonna get the boot.
I don't like haunted houses. They're boring. I remember the first time Jessica and I went to a haunted house, and she actually yelled at me afterwards because we're like walking through, and I'll be like, "Oh, hey, look, see that guy over in the corner? He's hiding. He's gonna jump out and probably try and get us." And then like we'll walk into another room, and we're like, pretty sure someone's gonna pop out of that box right there. And we were like almost all the way through. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, it was the same thing when we went to see like this. It was like this burlesque magic show or something else. And then every time the magician kept doing something, I'm like, because we were at the right angle, and I go, "Hey, watch this." You can see where he hides like the scarf.
You ruined it for everybody.
Oh yeah, I was ruining it for her. And then like the whole big thing with like the shadow, the box, someone being cut in half or something. I go, "Hey, if you look up to the right, you can see the projector. It's actually projecting down. There's nobody behind there." And then she's like, "Stop it. And I'm like, "I can't. This is who I am."
So that's where is that where you get the nickname when she tells you are a crusher of dreams?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Whatever
When
she
I'm
says it.
a killer of magic and a crusher of dreams. And yeah.
Well, I actually went to my very first haunted house, like what would be considered a real quote unquote haunted house in the sense that it was like a full production,
Yeah.
called the 13th Floor.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to one, and it was here in Denver last year. I will say I probably would have had more jump scares if the two girls in front of me didn't start screaming around every single corner,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
when nothing was there. So by the time, fortunately, this place actually was. This is how you know you go to a good haunted house, from what I've been told, is the people in front don't get everything. That there will
Yeah.
be people that wait several
Mhm.
people to go by to get the people behind them. Well, fortunately, that happened a couple of times. But I will say, like, to Kevin's point, like, it was fairly predictable, in the sense of, like, I remember one in my hometown that we went to as a kid. It was just like a little local production thing, nothing massive. But I remember that one actually being scary. But I don't know if it was just because I was so young or the reality was it was scary. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not. I think the whole haunted house thing is done for me. I see a lot of adults there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have actually a few big productions in our area. Like you can go up to Carowinds, which is a amusement park, and over the holiday, they changed to Scarowinds, real creative. But it's actually pretty cool. We have Mad World. Like I said, we have this area, the Denver Downs, which is just they do a really the whole going there, just not with the haunted house and stuff, but they actually have a lot of fun things to do there. Um, there's Mad World. What was the one that we went to with Taylor? That wasn't that was one in Piedmont, right? Yeah, that one we went to this one in Piedmont, and it was what was funny is we were like going through this whole thing. What was that? Oh yeah, it wasn't legal. It was a little shady.
Yeah.
It's the South, right? So but what we went through the whole thing, and then at the end, we're talking to this guy, and he's like, dressed like Leatherface, but he's sneezing and he's like congested. And I'm like, dude, and he's like, man, half of our whole staff has got the flu. I was like, you're not scaring me. Just stay away because I don't want what you got. Um, but there's quite a few around here that are big productions. Mad World is a real big one. That is, when you get to the exit, there'll be people like freaking backed up, go there.
Now, this was something a couple years ago that everybody was talking. It was several years ago at this point. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, but the scariest quote unquote haunted house in the country requires a 40-page waiver with a doctor's physical exam, and 2 bags worth of dog food is the admission fee. And if you survive, you get, I think it's like 35 grand or 40 grand.
Yeah,
And
I've heard
he's
that,
and
yeah.
he has
But
never lost.
What?
but they're allowed to touch you, Care. They're allowed to
Oh,
touch.
care. No, it's literally, so the
So
Yeah.
guy's a former special forces that effectively you're not allowed to talk about anything that goes on. Now there's some conspiracies behind it that he's selling this footage as torture porn overseas and in dark webs areas of the internet, because the guy's not the most reputable person from my understanding. But he is former military, from what I understand, and essentially he puts you through SEER school.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I don't.
I mean, come on.
And, and he's got a 3-year wait limit, Care. He's
You
got a
could
3-year
Well, that's
wait
because everybody wants
list.
to win that prize. That's why. But I
Yeah.
mean, they could touch you. They could do it. It's not like anybody. It's not like they're going to drag you to the basement, tie you up, beat you, and waterboard
Yeah.
you.
There is waterboarding involved in one of the sections. Like I said, it is a legit 40-page
That's not a.
waiver.
It's not a freaking. That's not
It's
a
a
haunted house.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
40-page waiver with a physical exam required for you to be part of this, and you have to survive 24 hours.
That's not, that sounds more like a freaking reality television show than than a haunted house. That's like, freaking, stuck in a freaking Afghani freaking cave type, scenario, not freaking waiting for the Frankenstein monster to come out and attack you.
Well, that's why they say this. It's set up, from what I've heard one person loosely explain it. It's set up like Saw. It's set up like that, like scariness, kind of that fucked up kitchen feel that you're just gonna be in for a torture for the next 24 hours. But yeah, he only charges 2 bags of dog food, and I think he takes like 20 people a year.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous like that. Yeah, it's
I'd bring my own. I'd bring my own waiver that they would have to sign.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, though, is the conspiracy side of all of that is he's actually taping everything, which he is doing, and you consent to it, and then he's selling that as torture porn in areas of the world. Because the guy's not the most reputable reputation himself personally, but that's all here or there. But that's just what I have read about the guy when I saw it on Scariest Places for the Travel Channel. They made it seem like it was like a fun event thing, and then you read into it, and you're like, these people are actually tortured.
That sounds nothing like Mad World or Hershey Park closing down half their park. Whenever you involve, sold overseas on the dark web for torture porn, I'm like, I don't think it's considered a haunted house per se.
Want to kind of move on to just talking about the local area where you are, Kerr. Get an update on kind of where the hurricane cleanup is around you, and kind of around your area, and how you guys are affected out there.
The cleanup around here is where we are, has been pretty good. I mean, the storm came right up through Gulf and just kept moving pretty quickly. Came up through Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, and then it came right over Greenville, where I live. And then, hit obviously the North Carolina area. They're still struggling. I mean, I talk about what we went through, which, it was an inconvenience. Being without power for 8 days is an inconvenience. Losing food, that's an inconvenience. But compared to what a lot of the folks that are dealing with up north, it's bad. Our neighbors that it was several days afterwards, they got word, because her parents lived up in Brevard, North Carolina, and that was all underwater. They didn't know whether they were alive or dead, and finally got word that they were fine. But they literally were not going to leave their house, but their neighbors called fire and rescue and made them leave, and thank God, but again, I bought a generator. We were without power for 8 days. So many folks up there, all they have is the clothing on their back when they left the house, so there's still a lot of work to be done up in North Carolina. I hate seeing that, the governor's, in the interview made a comment that some of these communities are just not, they just shouldn't rebuild. Chimney Rock Park.
I heard about that.
Couple of towns that they no longer exist. Not that they were flooded, not that they were ruined. They no longer exist.
Yeah.
Asheville. I mean, I was actually, believe it or not, we went to Kevin. We went to a punk flea market last weekend.
Yeah,
it was actually pretty cool. But the one we bought my niece this hair clip, and I was talking to the lady who was selling it, the woman, and she's from Asheville, and it's she was explaining that it kind of reminded me of like in Louisiana when New Orleans got flooded. It's the way that the mountains are arranged, the way that everything is, it's like Asheville's like this bowl. And they just had all this water, mud, and rock, everything just kind of come from the mountains and just boom, just end up in Asheville. And just it's gonna be years till they finally
Oh
get
yeah.
anything remotely close. I mean, as the waters are receding, there's still I saw last night there's still I think like several hundred people, if not 1,000 people still missing.
Yeah.
Um, and what's the part that really bothers me the most is that you really don't see a lot of this on the news. It's not being broadcast
Because
on what these folks.
it's not Houston, it's not Tampa, it's not
Exactly.
New Orleans, it's not, yeah, it's
It's just not, and that really does make it's like I don't know. I always say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when Kevin and I start chatting, we're like, you know what? I think I think maybe I am gonna be I am would consider myself more of a conspiracy theorist, or I start believing things. The media and everything else you see, it really does drive me crazy to know that it gets minimal coverage. But if some of these places would just go up there and just with a helicopter and a camera, I mean, the and spend some time up there, it's really heart wrenching. So
It,
for this area here, it's cleaning up well. I mean, Greenville did get hit pretty good, but it's tough for those folks in North Carolina.
what about you, Kev? We saw photos of Wyatt playing Lieutenant Dan out in the driveway. So I know you guys came away in your area fairly unscathed.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We had high winds. I mean, we were gusting over 100 miles per hour, for hours on end. But luckily, we didn't get the water with it. We didn't get the rain, So that was we really lucked out on that one because it made landfall, the next town up from us, the Sarasota area. So we were really lucky that we didn't get it, as much. I was nervous on this one. I've been here almost my whole life, and we joke around with the hurricanes, but this was a nasty one. This one made me nervous. So we prepared to the nth degree on this one, and not knock on wood, we came out okay.
yeah, what's surprising to me is that you didn't get the water because you're like 30 feet from the water, from a river, a canal that goes through pretty much your subdivision.
Oh yeah, but we have really good drainage in our subdivision. They came through years ago and put in huge pipes underground. So the drainage was, even when Hurricane Ian came up, when we went to bed, water was 6 feet from the house. It was 8 feet deep down the street. When we woke up that next morning, it was all gone. So we drain really really well. So in our neighborhood.
Now, was there anything big around your area that got nailed? Because we all saw Lieutenant Dan in Tampa, who decided to stay on his boat.
Yeah.
Was there any big damage in your area? Anything that needed to get
No.
rebuilt? Or it seems like it seems like the Carolinas got hit harder overall.
Yeah, Sarasota got a lot of flooding. Tampa got a lot of flooding, but not so much with Helene, but with the one previous. I forget whatever one. That one was. That ripped through St. Pete and Tampa and devastated a lot of the area. So, but yeah, so the previous one, yeah, we got hit back to back with hurricanes. So, but yeah, luckily our area, knock on wood, we
Yeah,
came out okay.
that last hurricane took a proper turn, which really,
Yeah,
other people got hit, unfortunately, but really, um, really saved you guys.
yeah.
So when something like that comes, Kev, why do you stay? I've always wondered, yeah, is it because you're just born and raised in Florida and it's the go fuck yourself attitude to the hurricane? But I feel like conservatives or people that lean more politically right have a tendency to stay, and those that lean a little bit more left have a tendency to follow the government's rules and leave. Now, obviously, there's mandatory evacuations in some areas where you don't have a choice. But have you always stayed for every hurricane? And same to you, Carrie. You've been hit by several over in the Carolinas. Have you guys both stayed for all of them?
I've always stayed, and my thought is, I'm in a well constructed house. Mitigate the damage before it turns really bad. Same when Hurricane Ian came through. We were supposed to be out of town that weekend. We decided to stay. And as the water was kind of coming in, because there was a lot of water, it was slowly creeping into the house. I mean, we maybe had like a mop bucket full of water. That's how much we would have mopped up. But we were able to mitigate that by blocking off some entrances with towels and rugs, and we're able to get a generator going and running the dehumidifier. So it's trying to mitigate those damages as they're happening versus leaving town and then not, like, if we'd have left town for Hurricane Ian, we wouldn't have been able to get back in for a week. Like roads were closed, 75 was closed. And then in Florida, if you had water in the house and you had a week with no power, you'd have had a mold issue instantly, being as hot as it was. So yeah, you risk staying and, getting killed, or, or versus, trying to protect your house as the calamity is happening. And, like I said, the last one with Helene, that was the one where I told Jessica that her parents should probably pick the kids up and they should all get out of town. Like this was going to be a nasty one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna to man the fort alone on this one. And but no, she wanted to stay, and luckily no damage done.
What about you, Kerr? Do you ever take shelter and run?
It's I'm telling you, we are so far inland, right? Where I'm in Greenville, that we don't face the challenges that Kevin and Jessica face where they are. Whenever hurricanes do hit, if they come up through, and I've seen this over the years. When they come up through the Gulf, that's usually when we'll get some pretty bad storms. We'll get some after effects. We'll get some tropical, storm type rain, winds, a lot of secondary tornadoes, and some flooding and such. When they come on the East Coast, they'll usually hit and then come up through. So they'll hit Charleston really nasty, and Myrtle Beach and Wilmington and all those places. But we're so far inland that this was an anomaly. This hurricane was moving that fast that when it hit, and it was that big, that when it hit land, it just kept right on going. And that's why it actually hit our area as a hurricane. I mean, to give some perspective, I'm old, but the last time a hurricane hit this area was like 1910. So we're so far inland that when it comes to weather like that, it doesn't bother me. I faced probably worse things and harsher things up in Pennsylvania with major snowstorms, stuff like that. But all in all, our byproduct of a hurricane is usually some some decent winds and a lot of rain and some tornadoes, but nothing compared to what Kevin's deals with. I mean, I'll repeat it. This storm that just recently hit us, that hurricane, it hadn't happened since 1910. So I think I'm good now for probably another 100 years or so. But I mean, it's just something that you don't consider living in this area. It's not a major problem. I mean, usually a lot of the storms that do hit areas, we're usually protected, from the mountains, because we're right in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, where I live in South Carolina. We're not down south, flat below sea level on a coastline. We're up north. We're northwest of in South Carolina. So we're protected by the mountains.
Climate change, Kerr. Climate change is going to happen more often. Global warming.
Well, I think seeing the Earth you know, and what we know of the changes over the thousands and thousands of years, it's cyclical. I mean, that's just the way it is. You know, I think we could be doing a better job of taking care of our environment, but you know, I don't think that, you know, me drinking water out of a styrofoam cup and throw it in the garbage can is going to is going to cause, you know, a longer, hotter summer. You know, trust me, there's a lot of Aquanet that was used throughout the 60s and 70s and 50s.
Yeah.
You know, if there's any, you know, holes in the ozone layer, it's probably over North Jersey.
There's a lot of things that was used over the 60s and 70s.
Right. I mean, but see, this is how extreme it gets and crazy it is. Where, you know, you know the inhalers that used for asthma?
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to use a propellant CFC, right? Well, up in the Canadian side, I can't remember what it's been eons. I used to be able to cite the study, but they showed that these carbon fluorocarbons or whatever it's called were bad in breaking down the ozone layer. So what they did was they made the company switch it to an HFA, a ozone friendly propellant.
Friendly.
So, but here's the crazy part about it, right? You talk
that'll
about
be outlawed in 10 years.
But you no, this really happened, right? So all these inhalers had to be removed from the market, and all these companies had to now do studies on these drugs that have been around for eons and were generic medications like, you know, albuterol, and had to go through all these expensive studies to see if these medications would be able to be delivered with this new delivery system. So once they went through all the cost and all the money of all these, you know, studies, and they released the medication to market, now everybody's $2 inhaler was now a freaking copay, and it would needed to be, you know, approved on your insurance company because now it's considered a branded product that's no longer generic. So they went through all that rigmarole and all that money expenditure and all that BS to be able to remove this propellant from the inhaler and replace it with another propellant because it was bad for the ozone layer.
Yeah, same happened. I'm in my lifetime. Automotive air conditioning.
Yep.
You know, went from CFC 12, which was the patent was owned by DuPont, and then to come to find out, you know, oh, it's creating the hole in the ozone layer. Guess who stepped up to the plate and said, "We've got a solution." DuPont. You know, so now yeah. So and then
You know, I brought up the fact that I personally feel people that stay for hurricanes have a tendency to lean right. And the reason why I said that is because well, yes, okay. But outside of that, it's I still love that Trump. Did you guys see the Trump joke at the Al Smith dinner where he says so many wives are going to be voting for Kamala?
Oh yeah.
Or so many white dudes are going to be voting for Kamala, but their wives and lovers are voting for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. I say that because I feel so many people that are right-leaning are also preppers to a certain extent. They prep for things. Kerr got a generator. I don't know if you just bought one for that or you had it. I know
bought one.
I have food supply at my place. I'm sure Kevin's got stuff. How do you guys prepare for something like this?
You buy extra water, you know, buy extra toilet paper. You know, we have cigars, you know, I buy extra rum. You know, I bought, you know,
cigars and rum. He's got it, Cam.
But yeah, you know, we bought 20 bags of ice. You know, I got 20 gallons of gas. You know, so you have, you know, ice and gas. You know, gas for the generator. You know, so you can at least keep the, you know, your refrigerator plugged in. You know, you can keep a dehumidifier or air conditioning going. You know, that's about all you got to do is just, you know, because nothing's going to happen in our area to where you're going to be out in the area we live in. Like, we're not like Asheville. We're not like Chimney Rock, where if you're in, you can't get out. You know, we're in a suburban area, you know, within a couple of days, I'm going to be able to drive to Tampa or to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, to get food, to get supplies. It's not going to be, so we just need enough to stay in our house for a couple of days until they clean up the roads a little bit. So there's not a lot of prepping that you have to do in a real suburban area like this.
No.
Have you had it so bad before, Kevin, that you had to have potted water versus being able to use the tap water because the water supply got damaged and you have to boil your water? At my parents' place where they live, they're at a well, and every once in a while when they would do work or something would happen, they would tell you, don't drink the water before boiling it. Has that ever happened to you in a hurricane situation where the water supply kind of goes down locally and you have to do something different?
I don't. I drink soda, so yeah, no. I mean, we always have bottled water, but I've never been forced to.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Kerr?
I do. Yeah, I do, because you'll get the warning of, hey, don't drink the water, and then it's like a couple days later, like, it's fine. I'm like, hold on for a second. How can you just fix the water supply issue like that? I mean, what's funny is when I was back home, when we moved out of the city, I was like 12 or 13, 14, and we moved outside. We had a well, and when they came, and we had a well, and we had a septic tank, which, God almighty, I have stories about freaking my brother and I digging ditches when the septic tank overflows. These kids have no idea what it's like. But when they came through, they came up through our area and brought in sewer, right? Well, they did something, and actually we couldn't drink our well water anymore. So my dad had to go through a whole legal thing and everything, but you can obviously boil it, like you said, and boil pastas or whatever else, as long as you boiled it. But I remember that after that happened, from that point moving forward, we always drank bottled water, just because our well, the well water was unable to be consumed. And I do see that when certain storms come through, that it can impact, especially if the flood waters are that high, and you're talking about, these water companies and the sewage companies, and they're running on electricity. They lose electricity, or they get flooded. I mean, it can definitely contaminate the water, and then you'll get some warnings of the water's not clean to drink or not good to drink. So I know what you're talking about. I mean, it happens rarely here. I think I can only remember one time of it only happening, but I am familiar with it, and you will get some warnings as well, especially if you own a well. You definitely need to be aware of what's going on, especially if you I know, like I said, back home in where I lived in Pennsylvania, it was in this more center part of Philly, closer to Philly, but more southern part of Pennsylvania. It was all farmland. So if you had a well and you lived near, a farmer who had cows, and everything's flooded, and you're getting all that freaking cow manure and shit water, flowing your way, you're not exactly going to be wanting to freaking, pouring out a glass of water and drinking it.
What is it on the Simpsons episode? We have a rule around here: if it's brown, drink it down. If it's black, send it back.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I've experienced more, but it was more back home than where I am, or back in Pennsylvania than here. Greenville's got great drinking water. Actually, it's got some of the best drinking water around. So,
well, we actually just bought a zero water pitcher because our ice maker that we got from New Air broke, and it was the nugget ice thing. And come to find out, you're supposed to put only filtered water in that.
Yeah, if not, I mean, you can put regular water in there. You just got to make sure you're running like vinegar and water through there like once a week.
Yeah,
at least, to keep it clean.
Yeah, we weren't doing that. I was cleaning it, once a month, but I guess it wasn't enough, and it jammed it up. And fortunately, they were nice enough to get to replace it, even though it was out of warranty. Love New Air for that. But anyways,
oh yeah,
we switched over to that zero water filter thing. So we love our water here in where we live here in Colorado. I live in a mountain town. Really, really good water, but it was just destroying our ice maker. So anyway, side story, stupid ice maker story on that one. Kevin, I saw that you bought yourself a distilling machine.
Yeah, it's actually going right now. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
the reality of that is how long is that going to take you to pay off? Because you watched in your video. No. I'm not saying you're bad for buying it. If you're going 5 to 10 gallons, that here it's $1.25, $1.50 a gallon for distilled water. Are you really?
I thought you were talking
through...
about Jessica. I thought Jessica got to you. Ryan, bring
No.
up what the thing cost.
See, Kevin,
No.
that's the friend you don't need, Kevin. You need a friend like me who laughs with you over it.
So yeah, I mean, I'm going through 5 to 6 gallons a week in my humidor. I'm constantly buying it. So yeah, I've just I saw this on the Viva website. I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was such a thing as a water distiller. Yeah, it takes 5 hours to make a gallon of water, but it's saving me, it's about half the price, versus buying it. So yeah, it's I got some going right now.
Now, are you going to do that modification and drip it into a 5 gallon or a 5?
Yeah, I've got a 5 gallon container. So yeah, I just got to get a longer hose so I can bring it down. And yeah, for sure.
I'm not going near this subject. I'm fucking avoiding this one.
So, Kerr, what's your thoughts on the Vivor distillery?
I think it's a great idea, man.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Kevin. You always find interesting little gadgets online that you do.
I do think it's a great idea. I mean,
it's a great idea. If you're going that much,
we got a little joke going on about it, and then I kind of rolled Kevin under the bus one day. When Kevin yelled at me, I rolled him under the bus, and I was like,
yeah. So yeah, and then plus I said there was no videos on it. Like there was 2 shitty videos on a water distiller, and I'm like, oh hey, so at the very least, if I buy it, do a video on it, and we'll see how it goes. I bought another thing from Viva. It's like a 16 gallon gas can. It's got like the hand crank on it with like a little pump. So I don't have to have a bunch of gas cans laying around. So, next thing I know, I send those to Viva. My next item's free. So, so maybe I get something on the backside of it.
Now, I actually almost bought their self-contained nugget ice maker.
Yeah,
because they have one where you actually push into it like an in refrigerator ice maker that it dispenses.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's fully self-contained. You fill it up using a funnel, so no dust or anything gets into it. I actually almost bought that if New Air wasn't going to be kind enough to replace what they did.
Look at you, left wing, worrying about dust in your ice.
Well, hey, there's nothing worse than when you open up the reservoir and you're like, how did you get floaties inside? I don't even understand.
Can't have a dusty prepper. I don't think you can.
Yeah. And it can't have dusty ice in his martini or whatever the hell he's drinking.
So
exactly.
I'm curious to ask you guys, because Kerr, you have been in the cigar media for how long now? When did you start the Stogie Road?
It's been 84 years.
1992.
No, I mean, I started doing this. It was the Stogie Road Show, Viajante Stogie Road Show, and the Cubans Crazy Commute. I think we started doing that. Probably I think we're coming up. It would be 8 years when we started doing that. 8 years ago.
Back when he started, zeros were still aughts.
Aughts. Yeah.
So, Kevin, you started your first review when?
I don't know.
14, right?
It's been so we're I mean, on the I Tapped That Cigar Show, I'm coming up on my 5th anniversary in like 2 weeks. So I started doing reviews a couple of years before that. So yeah, so we're probably 8 years now. Yeah, maybe 8 years.
So where do you guys I think you guys have seen the biggest change inside of the cigar media world,
Oh yeah.
from print to I making it sound like you guys saw the turn of the century, but the reality of it is you saw the turn of the century in cigar media. You saw it go
That's fine.
from nothing but print to a blend to, I think, predominantly shows like this. I think print is dying as a medium. Where do you see cigar media moving forward? Obviously, you guys are adapting your show and changing it, but where do you see the next generation of cigar media coming?
I don't think it's going to change too drastically from where it's at right now. You know, you're going to have Cigar Coupe, Cigar Craig, Half Wheel, Dojo. Dojo's probably been the biggest mover of, you know, of what they've done. Dojo really has their finger on the pulse and trying
I
to
would
keep
agree.
ahead, you know. But yeah, I don't, I really don't see how it can change too much other than, you know, because we're all doing shows, you know. So you know, trying to look forward, it's like, how can media do something different? You know, I don't know. I don't know how, you know, how media
I guess
can do things
let me
different.
ask it to you differently. Do you see shows like this style format being replaced with the vertical Instagram TikTok style format?
No.
Do you still think there's going to be a place for these long form style shows in the inside the cigar world?
Yeah, I think so. I think eventually TikTok or Instagram is going to get on the ball and release their, you know,
They'll catch
API
up.
key to where, you know, we can broadcast, you know, on Instagram, you know, going in the future. But yeah, I think these long form shows, I don't see them going away in anytime soon, because there are people that only do these shows on Instagram. They've done them
No,
for a
for
long
sure.
time,
Yeah.
and they don't get a lot. They don't get a ton of traction, you know. So I don't see, you know. Care thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think if anything, you know, I was telling you when I remember first starting off, it was a cell phone going through Facebook Live. That
Yeah.
was it, and propping it against a couple cigar boxes, and doing a show with Duncan. Um, I think as things progress, I think that we're getting more and more different platforms that are making it easier and easier to host these types of shows, to do recordings, and more importantly, to reach more platforms and a broader audience with one single show. You know, back then, I say back then like it's fucking 8 years, 18 million years ago, but when you think about, I mean, but what's funny is I don't feel so bad talking about, because technology changes daily. It's
Oh
amazing.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So you can
Internet
say,
year is 2 weeks.
like I messaged Kevin, my son Wyatt and we got in my mother-in-law's vehicle. It's a 2007 Toyota. He gets in, he puts his iPhone, he plugs it into the charger. He goes, "How do I play my music with this?" I said, "Dude, it's got a fucking tape cassette and it's got a cigarette lighter, a operational cigarette lighter." I said, "You're not gonna be able to Bluetooth this. It won't have Bluetooth on it." The only thing that's blue in this car was the old lady's hair that was driving it for 4 years. But I mean, when I say back then, it was, back then you would start your show and then you would share it to multiple groups, or you'd have multiple people sharing your show, and that was how you would get your audience, or at least try and get your audience, or maybe it's just freaking the stupid backward ass way we were doing it at the time. There may have been an easier way, but that's the way it was. That's the way you would try and capture all your audience when you did Facebook Live. Now you could take StreamYard, this platform. I was using another platform for Mac a couple of years ago, and you could actually have it broadcast on 6, 7, 8, 10 different platforms, because the platforms are growing as well. It's just not a Facebook thing. I mean, there's
Correct.
Rumble, there's, you got YouTube, you got freaking, Kevin, I think, is the one who really tapped
Twitch.
into it that a lot of people just miss out on, which is huge, and that is LinkedIn. Things like that. So you have the opportunity, you have the technology to reach more of a broader audience. So I think that it will continue. To Kevin's point, I don't think it's going away. I think more of these platforms are going to pop up, and they're probably going to be more accommodating to this type of a format. And I think as certain platforms that do some heavy restrictions and heavy uh, uh, cancel culture, if you will, of tobacco, there's going to be other platforms that are going to open up and say, you know what, we're going to welcome you. Come on over. I mean, X has been huge, and I mean, I think what Elon Musk has done with that, with that organization, I think is probably the best thing that's happened to it. So, um, I don't see it going away. The one thing that, and Kevin, you could probably attest to this too, Ryan, but back then it was like, okay, who did a live show?
Mm-hmm.
And it was even then, it was like everyone was always trying to jockey for position, for on what's a better night, trying to figure out what's a better night to get a broader audience. Now there's tons of them, tons of shows.
Yeah, when I first started off, we were the only one. When I first started off, we did 2 shows a week, and but they were shows. I didn't take someone else's time slot,
Mhm.
and I think Lee Mac, I had an overlapping time slot, and I'm like, okay, so I'll just start my show a half an hour later, so everybody can end your show. You have a half an hour, and then my show starts, and we were very accommodating. I respected his show. I didn't want to go on. Now it's almost impossible to do. Like there are shows all the time, every day. Starting at that 7 o'clock time slot and moving forward. It's impossible not to step on somebody's toes.
It is, but when I had my show on Thursdays, I think I can't remember how I was originally doing. We did it Fridays, and I think I moved it to like a Monday or a Tuesday. And then it started, like, the beginning of the week seemed to get really crowded. So I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm going to move to Thursday. So I moved to a Thursday. And someone decided that they were going to plop their ass 30 minutes after my show started.
Yeah.
And then they'd hop on my show and be like, hey, how's it going? And it was like, then they would try and drag my audience over into their show.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessary. I think it was rather freaking Bush League to do something like that, but I mean, it's expected because that whole group there is just a freaking, they're just a walking contradiction. If you ask me, they're hypocrites. So, that's what I kind of dealt with on when I had mine on a Thursday. So I was like, well, listen, you're not dragging my audience over. No one wants to come over there and see you guys do your thing. But to Kevin's point, now it's like trying to find a time. It's like shit. It's almost easier and better just to do something spontaneous and just pop on and just see if you can get some people that are just kind of on there and just pop on and check you out.
Yeah, because most of, I think we've all known this. I mean, for a long time, like I said, most years come from replays, anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, we're thankful. We'll get 50, 60 people watching on an average night, which is in this industry is crushing it. If you can get 60 people on, you're a number one time slot. Like that doesn't happen. A lot of shows get 5. And if they hit 10, they're like, oh my God, we got 10 people watching. They freak out. But which is nothing. I mean, nothing's bad about those shows. Then they'll get, replays and stuff like that, which is, I think the majority of people like replays and, so they can, fast forward and, hit advance if they come across something
100%.
they don't want. Yeah.
I get a pretty good live audience, but yes, most of my audience is definitely the next day. And it's because it's, you know, it's at night, people with their families, like I totally don't fault them for it, and I get it. I have some people that never miss the show religiously, and I love them for it. But yeah, I mean, most of my views within a couple, you know, 24, 48 hours, you get several hundred views. You know, you're doing well, especially in this, like you said, in this niche market here. But you know, I feel like an era in the cigar world is coming to an end. With you taking the I Tap That Cigar show off every Monday night, and with how much you have built that up, with how many people, followers you have, what thousands of followers on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble that you have. Of all of the shows that you have done, and Kerr, this question's coming to you too. Of all the shows you've done with Kevin, what's been your top 3 favorite guests?
God, you know, Nick Melillo, hands down,
Mm-hmm.
is Nick. Nick would hold all 3 spots. You know, I love talking with Nick. I love talking with Steve Saka whenever I can. Matt Booth. We've had so many good shows. I think the one that stands out is one that I tell the story of most often when Kerr and I were on the show, and it was Christian Aroa. You know, we had Christian on, and I asked Christian, you know, if he knew when he became Christian, when he was Christian Aroa, not Justo's brother, Julio's dad, or Justo's son, Julio's brother, you know, and he said, I know exactly the moment, and I have been waiting, whatever, I think he said 5 years for someone to ask me that question. And he told us the story. And that was just, to me, that was just such an honor that he'd been waiting 5 years for somebody in this industry to ask him that specific question. And he had the answer lined up, and he told us the answer, and it was awesome. So that's one of the standout moments of the show.
That's huge.
What about you, Kerr?
You know, there's a few that really stand out. You know, I think for me, it wasn't necessarily a guest. It was actually, you could say it was a guest. It's when Kevin came to visit and surprised me, and we did the show together live from
what a great show.
Yeah, that was that show, in my opinion, was one of the best shows ever because I was having a lot of scotch at night, and it was the you know that you did a great job on a show because we were talking about Lars Teetens at the time, and we were commenting on Lars, his cigars, his this, his that. And we're like, dang, just like, you know, he's fucking Lars Teetens, right? And we're like, the music, I don't know, Lars. And like we were just kind of going back and forth. I was like, the next day I get a message from him, and it was just a freaking link to one of the videos to one of his songs. And I was like, Kevin, I think he was watching us last night. and thus that like started, you know, I got connected with Lars, and you know, he's always a great guest. With him and Boothie on that show that we had them together was just like, I might as well just hit mute and just sit back and be quiet because it was just it was watching a tennis match of inappropriateness back and forth. You know, like Kevin said, the Chris Roy interview was fantastic. But I can tell you, you know, I always remember my first interview was with Felix Mesa of El Galan Cigars, and that I'll never forget. That happened like 7 years ago. That was a great interview with him, and learning about his products. So that one always kind of stands out because that was the first interview I've ever done. You know, I don't know. We've had some really epic episodes, and I really feel like as we're kind of winding down the end of 2024, and Kevin was, kind of talked about the future of what 2025 is going to hold for the I'd Tap That show and transitioning with the Puff Ponder. I think the shows that we've been having over the last couple of months have been getting stronger and stronger
Oh yeah.
and stronger. And it's just, I mean, and I don't say this because I'm part of the show, because I think Kevin and I are pretty realistic. If a show sucked or it was bad, we'd be like, eh. They've just been getting better and better. I mean, after the show, we hang out, we're like, God dang, that was awesome. The last show we just did was freaking phenomenal.
Oh God, it was great.
I mean, and when you hear back from the person, they're being genuine. You're like, man, that's the best show I was on. That was just fantastic. So, I mean, it's kind of funny as we're transitioning into this new into 2025. It's like, you're not going out, kind of dwindling off and like some folks do. And I felt like when I did my own show, I kind of felt like as I started to wind down, it was kind of like it was very reflective of where my headspace was for the show. But our show, it just seems like it keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the interviews get better and better. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Well, and that's why I say it's kind of like the end of an era, right? Like I feel like I feel like we're losing one of the biggest shows to happen inside the cigar industry. Obviously, hopefully you keep it up once a month, but it's still going to be a little bit different formatting wise going forward.
Yeah,
Um,
better to I don't know, go out on top than to have
The
people
fizzle
watch
out,
you,
yeah.
ask the same fucking questions every single show to every single guest, blow smoke up your guest ass each week. Oh, this is the best cigar I've ever smoked in my life. And then the next week, this is the best cigar I've ever smoked in my life. And it's the same thing the next week and the next week, and it's the same questions. And I just don't want to end up like that, and who knows what 2026 brings. Maybe, maybe we go back, I don't know. I just need a little bit of a break. I think everybody needs a little bit of time. And, like I said, well,
You can
just,
experience new things too. I also think with this pivot is going into a different format and a different way of doing things. You can come out of that and go, okay, great. You know what? We could probably come back and make the show even better based off of what we learned by just taking that time to do the puff and ponder.
yeah,
And I think that's really how you get to learn, how to keep it new. You were asking earlier, Ryan, where do we see this industry or this type of format? Where is it going? Is it like, and Kevin brings up a good point. Is it going to be the same for comparison? I mean, listen, everybody sees it. Everybody knows it's like, okay, it's time for my top 10 list. Oh, I wonder who it's going to be,
yeah.
and but I think, being able to keep the information and the questions fresh, and Kevin does a great job of this. He does. It's not only keeping it fresh, but as honest as Kevin is with me and I am with Kevin, will also in a respectful way kind of be like, hey, yeah, you guys got, a website, and I think but when you have a cigar brand owner and you start talking about it and it's the way it's delivered and the way it's interacted, I think as much as we come away from these interviews learning more about them, I think a lot of these cigar brand owners and I think a lot of these folks that we have on the show leave the show with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more feedback, and probably some information that is going to help elevate them and their brand. And that is really, I think, a perfect way to the perfect show is when both parties kind of say, "Hey, thanks for coming on. It's great seeing you," and both leave with a little bit of something. And I don't think there's a lot of shows that can do that, and that's one thing I've always appreciated about Kevin is, especially after the show, we'll have the conversations afterwards. It's always an exchange of emails, and I'm going to hook you up with this person. We're going to talk to that person, and I think people leave better than they were when they came on.
I agree with that. And honestly, when I first talked to Abe to Babnet Smoking, um, I told him that I was working with Kevin, and obviously Abe had been working with Kevin a long time before that. And he had asked me, he goes, "How is he? You know, is he helping? Is he this? Is he that?" And I said, "Actually, yes." I called. Kevin picked up. He was at work. We talked for 15 minutes. We talked again a couple of days later, and he's helping. And Abe said to me on the phone, "Good. That's the way it should happen." Because Kevin's had assistants and good people in his corner, and it's always good for him to pay it forward. And Kevin's been one of those that has been solid for me in
He's
that
told to
level.
everybody though, Ryan. And I
He
and
is.
I'm
He
you know,
is.
Kevin, you can put Kevin in the middle really big and put a small on the side for this one. But I mean, I mean, and I won't get into specifics on certain people with the stupidity. I've known Kevin a long time now. I have, and I can tell you, after so many years, um, after a couple of years, you really start to get a feel for the type of person that you're working with. And I've worked with some folks in the past pretty closely, where after a couple of years, you're like, I don't think this person's a good person. I don't know about this person. And then the true colors come out, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
They're a piece of shit. Really, really. I mean, they're duping everybody, but I don't know. And as I got to know Kevin, and the more I get to know Kevin, the more and as over the years, you're not going to find anybody who's more generous. They're going to be direct, probably, a little bit of a sharper edge to them, but I prefer that versus someone who's going to BS me. But you're not going to find anybody who's more accommodating. They're more generous and more helpful than Kevin. You talk about paying it forward, it's done in spades. And I just know how he is with Jennifer and myself, and how our friendship has grown over the years with he and Jessica. But I've met a lot of folks in this industry, and I've interacted with a lot of folks in this industry, a lot of folks that won't even give you the time of day, that will be your friends, and they'll kiss your ass until they start getting big, and the next thing you know, they don't know who the hell you are. And you know who I'm talking to out there. And 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 they'll do everything they can to elevate themselves by using you as a stepping stone to elevate themselves. And he's not like that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still with him. We're still together on the show. We talked about pivoting in 2025. We're going to pivot in 2025, and I'll continue to work with him as long as ever. And whenever Kevin's got a crazy idea, he calls me, goes, "Hey, Kerr, what do you think about?" I'm like, I love it. Candela and the filler, shit, why not? Why wouldn't we do something like that? That sounds fantastic. And I also appreciate the fact that when Kevin says he's going to do something or has an idea, he follows through with it. He's just not someone who just randomly throws ideas and thoughts out and then never follows through on them. And that's the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's why it saddens me a little bit to see that the end of the I Tap That Cigar Show, as far as short term,
Yeah.
who sees long term where you bring it back. But Kevin, here in closing, I've always wondered this, and I don't know if I've ever heard you actually talk about it. How did you get your first sponsor, and how did you get so in tight so quickly with Drew Estate?
So Jessica and I were at the Florida Barn Smoker years ago. Well, I mean, this is going back 5.5 years ago or so, 6 years, and we enjoyed Drew Estate cigars. We still do. And we're always smoking Drew Estate cigars, tagging Drew Estate. We were at the Florida Barn Smoker and we met Joe Grow, and I'd only seen him online, and I walked up to Joe and I'm like, "Hey, Joe, I'm Kevin. It's my wife Jessica." And Joe goes, "Yeah, I follow you. We all follow you. We all know who you are, And he's like, "Hey, if um going forward, any barn smoker that you want to attend, tickets are on us, going forward, And then maybe like that next year, started talking with Joe. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing my own show, had some ideas. And he's like, back and forth with some ideas and, help me kind of work out like the platform of the show. And he's like, hey, we'd love to come on and, and help you guys out in any way we can, so yeah, it was that was it. They kind of approached us and, and then Corona Cigar was next. I reached out to Jeff and I'm like, hey, we're starting a thing. And we'd love to know, what, if we can work with you. And he's like, yeah, I already know you're with Drew Estate. I've heard, and this is like days later. And I'm like, I don't even know how he found out about that, but he's like, yeah, I'm on board. Yeah. Just whatever you need, send me an invoice, and after that, it was mainly just, it was always people reaching out to us. They saw the show. I think they appreciated the being an authentic show, being an authentic person, we're just regular people. I mean, and obviously people seen that through all the reviews Jessica and I had done up to that point. We're just two regular people that fight on camera and make fun of each other. And, she yells at me, and that's just where, that's where we've always been. So many people, so many wives have come up to Jessica at various events. He goes, my husband's an idiot, just like your idiot husband. He does the same dumb shit that Kevin does. Or like, I can't believe Kevin says that. Can't believe you haven't hit him already. And she brought in this whole female audience that never smokes cigars. But every time we do a review, they're there watching with their husbands while they smoke a cigar. And so many husbands reach out to me. He's like, my wife has never enjoyed being around me, or that was something we never shared, but your show is something that we get to share together, not your show, but the reviews at the time. So yeah, it was just, being authentic, and people see that, so we've never had an issue with reaching out, asking for sponsors, asking for money. It's always pretty much just been people coming to us, hey, at any given time, we have a waiting list a year long. People will be clamoring here in the next couple of weeks. Hey, how's 2025 looking? You couldn't get us in 2 years ago. You couldn't get us in last year. Do you have room next year? Then I'll have to break it to everybody that, yeah, we don't have room because we're not taking anything. So yeah, we've just been lucky. I would say luck has a lot to do with it. And hard work, but it is.
You make your own luck with your hard work. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, the timing is always.
Say luck. Don't say luck.
But timing is always going to be important.
Yes.
But I can tell you, just from knowing Kevin and Jessica, is being genuine, right? There is nothing that's going to replace being genuine. It isn't, because when you're phony, people see through it. Everybody knows it. And as it is with anything in sales, it's you'll never know unless you ask. And I think with some of the folks that you deal with, Kevin, and you get, and the sponsors and stuff, is if you're gonna ask, have a plan. You have to have value. You have to have a value. It's being genuine is great, being nice is great, being friendly is great, and asking someone is fantastic. But if there is no what's in it for me, the whiffum, then you're not going to capture anything, and that's what you got to build.
That's it. And I think the biggest thing that I see in the industry nowadays, and I try and school some of these new cats, is they want to jump in. And I get these emails at least once a month. I want to do a show. How do I get sponsors? How do I get? And then I'm like, I don't even know who you are. It's like, then I'll go look up and I'm like, what do you do? And I tell people, like, Jessica and I spent a year, 365 days on social media, smoking cigars, posting photos. Mm-hmm. And that was before we got into cigar reviews and just getting the industry to know who we are. And people don't want to do that now. Like a year. I don't have time. I don't have time to put in a year. I don't have time to help you. If you don't want to do a little bit of legwork, I don't have to, I'm not going to waste my time with you, you know, and everybody just wants to jump in. Hey, how do I get sponsors and how do I get like free cigars? Yeah. Figure that out. Figure that out on your own, man.
Okay, I have
You just don't announce I have a show and people are gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, can I sponsor you?
no, no. I mean, for me, it took me a year almost. No, about 6-8 months, to get my first sponsor, which was Drew Estate. And then, well, I guess Abe technically by giving me unboxings, but it took me a long time. And I also think that that a lot of people ask for a lot of money without being willing to put in like the time and the effort that say like a Kevin asks. Because Kevin, with him, you're getting a package. You're getting pictures, most likely. You're getting edits. You're getting posts. You're getting this. You're getting that. It's more of a marketing package for your company.
Yeah.
And there's some people that, like, I don't ever say I'll post pictures. I do every now and then, but I never make that promise. But see, I bring my sponsorship to that understanding and that level of value that I bring. I know some shows that are 4, 5, 6 times what I ask and literally do exactly what I do. And it's like, what is your value you're adding? And then I get companies that are like, how are, like, you don't charge enough, or Abe gets that conversation. He always says, like, raise your rates. It's like, I don't want to, because I want to be an accounting error. I want to be a partner. I don't want to be an expense. So for me, I look at this show as a true partnership versus, like, you know, how much I can charge for them, because I really don't charge a lot, and I charge everybody exactly the same, um, for a partnership. And I'll be honest, with all the sponsors I have, I still don't get free cigars. So don't start a cigar show with the expectations of you might get a 5-pack here or there, but typically you do have to be more on Kevin's level of engagement to get that type of product.
That's it, and that's what early on, people would ask for, like, they'd reach out to me, hey, like, what does it charge? And I'm probably 10 times what most shows charge, and oh, they're like, oh, well, so and so only charges this, well, then go with them.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But yeah, but like, here's what you get with me.
Mhm.
You get 9 platforms, you get videos, you get postings on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you get all of this. So you get this giant package for what I consider a small amount of money. Or you can go over to that show and you can pay a small amount of money and you get that show. That's it. That's all you get, is that show. And that's not what you get with me. You get a package, and that's why I command, the show commands what it does.
I also think you're rare. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've seen a ton of these shows and a ton of these people. I also think, Kevin, you're rare in the sense that you do all of that. There's a lot of show
Yeah.
hosts that don't do any of that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 100%. I also think Kevin did hit the nail on the head earlier, because I've seen a lot of folks, make this mistake too. Is that, don't undervalue yourself. Don't be so quick to jump after free cigars and some money.
Correct.
And kind of lock and step. It's like, make sure you understand what your value is, and be fair about what you charge, and then you can go to you can actually have that conversation with multiple people. Don't pigeonhole yourself, or because what'll end up happening is, yeah, you'll say, okay, I got a couple $1,000 from XYZ, and I'm getting some cigars, and and then, like I said, your top 10 list comes out, and guess what's on the top 5 of that? It's those XYZ. And after a while, people are like, yeah, I'm getting a little old. It gets a little boring, gets a little old, this shit, because it's pretty predictable. I know what I'm going to get.
Yep.
And when you're predictable like that, like I said, at that point you don't have value. So never, if you are going to be, I mean, it takes a lot of balls too to have a show that's as successful and does have sponsors and people looking for more sponsorship, where that does bring in revenue, and say, you know what, I'm walking away from it. I want to try something new and something different. You know, that's understanding your value and then exploring how you can add to that value.
And
Almost going to happen
I
in
agree.
2025.
I
So
completely agree.
a lot of people make that mistake. They don't, because they don't know what they want to do. They don't know. They know what they want. They want
Yeah.
money and they want cigars, but they don't know what they want to present. They don't know they don't know how they want to present it. They don't know what their value is going to be. They think by just going on live and smoking cigars and throwing up a fucking banner that's going to freaking satisfy, and that's not the case at
No,
all.
no. You have to put on a good show. One of my biggest things that I love is when somebody that's partnered with this show at the end of coming on goes, "Man, that was great. That was great. Great show." You know, or my thing with Dan Thompson is, because I look up to Dan very, very much, is I always tell him after he's come on the show, "I hope I made you proud." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Absolutely." And for me, that's all I care about, is that the people supporting, partnering with this show find great value out of it, find a fun show to be on. But like you had said, I also like to give them something different. And it's very important to not be the same as everybody else. So that's why I literally tell
Yeah.
everybody when you come on, I'm not a product show. You want product? Go to Cigar Coop. Cigar Coop talks product better than me. I'm going to talk about you. I want to know about you, what makes you tick, what your failures are, your successes. Like,
We tell that to almost every one of our guests, you know, before the show starts. Like, hey, we're not going to get into cigars for till the latter half of the show. Like, I mean, that's it. You know, we're going to talk about you, like you. We like hearing the story.
yeah, it's much
Get
more
to know you.
binding to the consumer when they could feel like you're a normal person.
Yeah, and you talk about Coop. I wish I had the steel trap that man has in
Oh,
the brain.
Walter
You know,
Cronkite.
someone will bring up, like, he'll have a guest on, and then he'll be like, talk about a cigar, and Coop will be like, yeah, I remember, you know, that had like the black band with like the gold lettering, and you guys released that like 1995 or something, and I'm like, the hell do you know that, Coop? You know, you've interviewed a million people and you know, thousands of cigars. Like, how the hell did you remember that?
That's funny.
So I want to ask you guys here in closing a question that I asked Coop, and we'll close with this. It kind of stumped Coop a little bit, and you guys have been around for a while now and would probably have an answer to this. Who is, and Kevin will start, or Kerr will start with you. Who is, in your opinion, one of the most pivotal people in cigars, not alive today, just in general, to where if they weren't here, maybe cigars wouldn't be what they are?
I mean, I think, you know, you got the Fuentes. I mean, I mean, I, I don't think I need to say anything else other than that. I mean, you know, that is a family that's been, you know, in my opinion, they've been grinding, working hard. I mean, they have an incredible history, and a great story. And you have Carlito, who can speak to a lot of that, if not all of their family history from, you know, rolling cigars in the kitchen and putting them in brown bags and selling them in the neighborhood to what they've become today. You know, I think they've, you know, when you look at the products that they put out, when you look at the artwork, we just talked about last night about Manny Iriarte. You
Mm-hmm.
look at the artwork, you look at all of the things outside of cigars with the, you know, the boxes, the way they're done up. I think they've made it glamorous. I think they have made it something that is like beyond just smoking a cigar. I think they've really have been instrumental in making it a lifestyle versus making it just a cigar smoking experience. I think that's what they've done with all of the contributions that family has made to the cigar industry overall.
Okay, I like that answer. Kevin, what about you, Kev?
I would agree with Kerr on that. The Opus X, definitely changed the cigars. I mean, and elevated it to the nth degree. But I would like to change your question a little bit because that's just me.
That's fine.
Who without this person would the cigar industry be the way it is? And I would say no without Jonathan Drew. If Jonathan Drew never got into the cigar industry, this cigar industry would not be what it is today. You wouldn't have social media like you do today if Jonathan Drew had never made that first cigar. He changed what the cigar industry can be. Before it was your people in a lounge with a suit and a tie and smoking, Fuente, Opus X, Padron, Camacho, pre-Davidoff, Davidoffs, that was like an elite. And then comes Jonathan Drew, and like the average person be like, he's me. Like he's me. Like that's who I am. I can go to a lounge as a tattooed guy with a beard and I can enjoy cigars. Like, and there's companies that are promote to me. So yeah, it's you can't discount Fuente and Padron. Like I said, I think like I said, the Opus X changed cigars, of what cigars can be. There's no longer, like, oh, what, a cigar is $10. I'm used to paying $2.
It's the first expensive cigar.
Why is Opus X $10, $12, $15? I'm used to paying $2. And that just changed the cigar world. So
Opus made it okay to spend $20+ on a cigar, and Jonathan Drew is the reason why cigars are under $10 still for a lot of places, because they are the largest growers. So, well, I tell you what, thank you guys so much for coming on. Hope this was fun for you.
That's great.
This was definitely fun shooting the shit. It's always a great time to have you all on. And thank you all for joining us on another live Thursday night episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here at the Smokin' Studios. And until we see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have a great rest of your